Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. So we have some pretty big news if this turns out to be true. We have some people reporting this right now that apparently a Daryl Dixon spin-off movie is in the works. Now, I'm not exactly sure how accurate this is because the thing is, when it comes to people who are just reporting on stuff like this and it wasn't officially announced by AMC, there's always a chance for this stuff to be wrong. But then again, whenever people get like scoops like this or whatever, there's always a chance for it to be right. So we'll see what happens with this. But apparently a Daryl Dixon spin-off movie is in the works right now. I got the article here from enemy.com. I'll post a link to it down below if you guys want to go check it out. But I guess I should warn you guys all for spoilers for season 10 of The Walking Dead. Mostly just like Michonne's final episode and maybe like episode 14, 15, like 13, 14, 15 around there. With stuff related to Michonne and I guess Daryl and all of that. And also, if you want more Walking Dead content like this, make sure to be a subscriber. If you want reviews, trailer breakdowns, news breakdowns like this, just, yeah, maybe consider subscribing. And if you want to also follow me on Instagram, that's just at MusicMan on Terrace Street. The link for that should be down below. Now, what they're saying here is that apparently this movie hasn't been greenlit or anything yet, and apparently is just in discussion right now, and that the film would likely be set after season 11 or 12 of The Walking Dead. And it would see Daryl search for Rick Grimes, which means he does find that he's alive at some point, and also we may see some flashbacks of Merle, or I guess maybe even just hallucination sequences or something, because they've been doing that a lot recently. So somehow they could have Merle back in this movie. Now, I am a little skeptical about this, but I'm not too skeptical about this, because the thing about a Daryl Dixon movie is it makes a lot of sense. Like if this was about something else, then I would be a little like, I don't know about that. But because this is about Daryl Dixon and Norman Reedus having his own movie, I'm like, that obviously makes a lot of sense. Now, I don't know if it means that Norman Reedus is going to be off the show. I don't think it means that at all. I think it means, if anything, it would be like an off-season thing. So if, say, season 11 ends in such a way where Daryl does leave, but he'll return for season 12. Or at some point in season 12 anyway, sort of thing. Maybe he doesn't find Rick, or I don't know what the point would be of it, but I think Daryl in general as a character, you can definitely make a movie on him. And I think, actually what's pretty funny about it is that Daryl literally said to Judith that I won't leave you. And so what does he do when he first finds out about Rick? He leaves her. And I'm just not really sure if that is what would happen. Obviously, I think that if Daryl were to find out, he might have that, he just wants to go and find him sort of thing. But maybe there's something else there that causes him to go and stuff like that. So, I do think there's a way they can explain it. Now, if this means Daryl off the show, obviously that would be really bad. And I don't think that's the case here. Obviously, Norman Reedus doesn't want to leave the show. And I don't see the show ending with season 11. I think it would be so out of nowhere. I know the comic material is most likely going to run out at the end of season 11, just because there's only 20 or so issues left. And yeah, sometimes they take 12 or 16 issues of a comic. But when you consider what happens in the Commonwealth arc, there's not that many big moments. There's two big moments. There's one big death around issue 186 and another one at the very end. You basically have to have that for your season to have those two big moments. They could go into original material and blah, blah, blah. But basically the comic material is running out at the end of season 11 for the most part, unless it extends a little bit into early season 12. But I really doubt that. And who knows, maybe that is a possibility. Maybe the show is ending with season 11. And after that, starting with season 12, the show's not going to end in season 11. That's not what I mean to say, but maybe they follow the same story where in the finale of season 11, they jump forward 25, 30 years or something like that. And then in season 12 on, it's a whole new story sort of thing, right? And so maybe that's where Daryl actually leaves around that point. And we get movies based off of him going to search for Rick. And then now all of the Walking Dead excitement is in movies and it's not really on the television show anymore, though I guess it still could be exciting because we would still have those characters obviously on the main show. They would just be much older though. That is one way this could all work out, obviously. We would have one or two more seasons of The Walking Dead with the current timeline. And then they do the comic time jump or whatever, where they jump 15, 20, 25 years or whatever into the future. And then you have a whole new cast there. Daryl could also be on that show too, but he would just be much older. Or they can actually build up more of this movie universe. They'll have a Daryl movie, a Rick movie. They were already talking about this Michonne limited TV series thing. So obviously she would have her own thing too. And somehow it all combines into the Rick Grimes movies or the Walking Dead movies, right? I think that makes a lot of sense. I think this could be something that they could do. It's just my whole thing is I was really looking forward to more original material on the show. And I was really looking forward to seeing what they would do after the Commonwealth, because that was going to end at some point in season 11. I'm excited for the Commonwealth. I want to see what they do with that. But I'm excited to see what happens afterwards and what do they do with that, and then how do they wrap up the story and stuff like that. So if this is their overall plan though, and they are going to do that time jump and stuff like that, then a Daryl movie could make sense. Now they could also still do this Daryl movie and not do that time jump and have the story still continue. I would much prefer that, just because I feel like if you jump 20 to or whatever years in the future, we're losing a lot about what I really like about the show right now. And the show, since the 6-year time jump, has felt so fresh. And to immediately jump 25 years or whatever next season, it would just feel like, wow, it was so short-lived. This little time period here was so short-lived. Like what, Rick never found Judith at all in the last 20, 25 years, 15, 20 years? You know how heartbreaking that would be? That'd be like, really? Rick was gone for that long? I don't know how much of a fan I would be of that. And so that's why I don't really think that time jump is necessarily going to happen. If it does happen, it will happen after all of this Rick Grimes stuff. After we get the reunion between Daryl, Rick, Judith, and everybody, that's where they could do that time jump, because then you're starting a new fresh story sort of thing. And yeah, you don't have that whole Rick Grimes thing attached to it, because that would just be really sad. Now, as for whether or not this is true, I don't really know. I mean, it's like, obviously it's rumored right now and it's not been green lit. But this was sort of the rumor with the walk or the World Beyond, right? There was rumors of this third show, if you remember, a few months beforehand, and then it was green lit, and then within a few months they started filming. I'm sure Norman Reedus wants to do a movie. I mean, if you think about it like that, I'm sure Norman Reedus, once he heard that Andrew Lincoln's doing these Rick movies, he's like, I want to do a Daryl movie, And we could have Merle come back or something like that, and he could be like haunting me and kind of walking around with me. We can have certain things like that would just be a lot of fun to do. I'm sure Norman Reedus would be on board. I definitely think he would be on board, and I think it would be a really awesome movie. Now, what I do want to focus on, obviously, which is what they're saying here, is that the source added that it would be based on Daryl searching for Rick. And so that would mean that if this happened after season 11 or 12, that at some point in season 11 or 12, Daryl's going to find out about what happened to Rick. And I already expected that. I actually have a video coming out later on talking about Virgil and how this reveal could come out. And I do think Virgil's probably key to that, because Judith, she might not want to say anything right now, but Virgil, he knows about what happened. He can say something. So I think Daryl's going to find out soon. Will he find out in the season 10 finale? Who knows? Is he going to find out in season 11? I'm placing my bets there mostly. I think it's probably going to happen in season 11. And so this could work out. They could do a Daryl Dixon movie, and I think that would really work. Like, there's certain characters on the show that can definitely have their own movie. Like, could we ever have a Carol movie? I don't think we could. Could we ever have a Negan movie? I don't really think we could either. Like the thing about Negan is that I was only interested in doing his comic backstory, but since we've already gotten that so much on the show, like we've gotten so much backstory to Negan, there's nothing really to tell there. And so maybe if you want, you can actually show us the scenes and show us how he became the leader of the Saviors, then fine, maybe you can do a movie there, fine. But with someone like Carol, we already saw her whole life. There's not a lot you can do there. Maggie, you can kind of do something with Maggie, I think, but that's really just based off the last 6 years and what she's been up to and the people that she's came across. So with Maggie, yeah, there's something you can do there. The governor, obviously. Michonne, there's a lot of possibility because she just left the show. And with Daryl, there's a huge possibility there. But I guess the question is, if he goes and does this movie, will this take away from The Walking Dead? Like, if Daryl goes to do this movie, does that mean, first of all, one, that he's leaving the show now? Or two, that he's not leaving the show, but he's just not going to be a big part of that season? Because Daryl's a huge part of the show right now, and I'm watching mainly for him. There's like 5 or 6 other characters I'm watching for, obviously, but like there's, he's the main character right now. It's like him and Negan, and I guess now Maggie, since she's back, because Michonne was gone, so I was watching for Michonne too, but she's gone now. So it's like those 3 characters that I'm mostly watching for, is Maggie, Negan, and Daryl. And so you take Daryl away, and even if it's just for a few episodes or for like most of a season, you're still just focusing on Maggie and Negan. And I think Daryl being a part of the show makes all of those characters work. Rick actually being on the show made everything work in general, but surprisingly somehow the show is still super watchable and better than ever since he was gone. And I'm not saying anything bad about Andrew Lincoln, like nothing at all. I just mean somehow Angela King has made the show so exciting and so refreshing. It's just exciting, I'm really hyped for episodes, and I never thought I would feel like this without Rick, I thought if Rick ever left the show, that was it for The Walking Dead, but that was really not the case. But I feel like if you take Daryl off the show, then it's not the end of The Walking Dead. It definitely isn't, but it's going to change The Walking Dead a lot. And that's why I think if they're going to do this movie, then one, they're going to have to end the show, I guess, when he does leave. And I guess that's kind of I don't know. I think the best option if this movie is happening is have Norman Reedus just film this on like an off season, or maybe he misses a little bit of a season, but have it all make sense. Like have the story take place, I guess, in between seasons. So take place in between season 11 and in season 12, right? But as of now, this is just a rumor. We'll have to wait and see if this ends up being true. But this is what's being reported out there right now, is that they're in talks right now to make a Daryl Dixon movie, and it's supposed to be based off of Daryl's search for Rick Grimes. So that's kind of the premise for a Michonne movie. But if they're going to do a Daryl one, maybe Daryl finds Michonne. Maybe it's like Michonne's finding Daryl, or Michonne's finding Daryl. Michonne's finding Rick, and then in the Daryl movie, Daryl's finding Michonne. I know that's dumb, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But again, I'll leave a link down below to this article. Do you think this could be true? And if it is true, how do you feel about it? Post all your thoughts down below. Make sure to be a subscriber if you want more Walking Dead content like this, and thanks for watching.